I was a trans kid. By all definitions that are used today, I was a trans kid. I did everything I could to present as a boy. I had what was then called penis envy. I wanted a penis. I wanted to be a boy. I hated myself. I loathed being a girl. I did everything I could to be a boy. And in fact, my attempts were so disturbing to my first grade teacher that she called in the school psychologist to assess me because I was so adamant that I wanted to be a boy. So by all accounts, I was a trans kid. And this is why I am so passionate about conversion therapy laws. Because conversion therapy laws that include gender identity would make it impossible for therapists to work with transgender children who have developed gender dysphoria as a result of an underlying issue. And most children who have gender dysphoria, most so-called trans kids, are trans because of underlying issues, either because of a trauma or a sexual assault, or because their parents have homophobia and so they're trying to present as the opposite gender so they appear to be straight, or because they misunderstand the fact that sex roles are not strict, and just because you don't want to adhere to stereotypes of your gender doesn't mean you're transgender. Or if you're a girl whose body's changing, that it's hard when you go through puberty, and that doesn't mean you're trans. It just means that developing from a girl into a woman can be really difficult. So there are all these reasons that children develop gender dysphoria. In my case, it was a result of a sexual assault, and it made so much sense as a little girl. And I think about how creative and wonderful I was as a little girl to come up with the solution that after sexual assault, I would be a boy, so I didn't ever have to be sexually assaulted like that again. And of course, at the time I didn't realize that boys get sexually assaulted too, which I know does happen. But in my child mind, I believed if I was a boy that I would never be sexually assaulted again. And so I did everything I could to present as a boy. I was a trans kid. And the point is that I desisted. I detransitioned. I stopped being a trans kid. Because trans kids are trans kids not because they're born in the wrong body, but because there are underlying issues. And these issues cannot be explored in therapy if they have conversion therapy bans. Because basically what trans rights movement is saying is that being trans is a normal condition, that it's a normal developmental path for children. And that's just not true. It's not normal for children to hate their bodies. It's not normal for children to want to be something that they're not. It's not normal for a child to have such self-loathing that they want to completely change themselves and be something that they aren't. That's not normal. Those are all signs of an underlying mental health issue. And those issues cannot be treated if therapists are not allowed to explore these issues with children. If in fact therapists are required to affirm that child's self-hatred by saying they are in fact born in the wrong body. And one of the things the trans rights movement does to detransitioners like me, to those of us who were trans and then realized that transitioning did not help us, did not alleviate our underlying dysphoric feelings, did not help us to become more functional. They dismiss us as saying that we were never trans, and that if we were trans, we wouldn't have desisted. Well, the fact is that up to 90% of children will detransition if allowed to naturally progress through puberty. There are some who won't, and those are children who need perhaps as adults to transition, but not until adulthood. Because what happens is that as soon as a child is told that they are born in the wrong body, as soon as they are encouraged to transition, they are more likely to medically transition. And once a child medically transitions, they are much less likely to desist normally and naturally. And once a child starts taking cross-gender hormones, their bodies become permanently dysfunctional. So we need to stop talking about trans kids. We need to talk about what these kids are. These are children who have developed gender dysphoria as a result of an underlying issue. They have a mental health issue that needs to be treated, and they cannot be treated if these conversion therapy prohibitions are passed, because these prohibitions require therapists to affirm this child's self-hatred.